All right, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening. I'm not exactly sure when you're listening to this, but good whatever. Here you go, arcs and chords. Today, you're going to recognize and use the relationship between arcs and chords. Fairly interesting stuff to do here. It's one of those, when you get it, and when you don't, it can be kind of confusing. But the good portion of this is trying to remember that a lot of things are trying to be equal. Okay, so that should hopefully make things easier. Anyways, all right, let's look at the first thing. Okay, so the main idea here is we're going to be using chords are congruent if and only if. Now, keep in mind, and I'm going to give you A, then B. Okay, two chords are congruent only if and only if their corresponding arcs are congruent. In other words, the chords A, B, and C, D are congruent if their arcs are congruent. Okay? Conversely, I can say if those if these chords are congruent, then the arcs are congruent. So kind of keep that in mind. They are interchangeable in that sense. Those two ideas will work together. So like if you look at number one here, even though I'll do that in a minute, those two are going to be equal. Okay? Because since these chords are equal, then these arcs are equal. Okay? So that's a lot of that is what we're trying to go with. All right. Now, part B. Let's look at part B. They are equal distance from the center. Okay, so that's a separate idea here. Okay, so really keep that in mind. This is one idea, and there's a separate idea. So two chords are congruent if and only if they are equal distance from the center. So if this is equal and this is equal, then the chords are equal. Or if the chords are equal, they're the same distance from the center. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, one of those vice versa things. All right. If a diameter or radius is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord. So see this little 90-degree angle right here? Okay. Right. Oops. It helps if I was on that one right there. That tells me that this and this are congruent. Because remember, bisect means it's divided into equal halves. Okay, so let's try to look at examples of each one of these, or how we use these properties. So, start off with number one. Number one just has us look and go, oh, hey, look, there's a find x. Okay, that's a very simple thing to do. Okay, so they're telling you this chord is equal to this chord. Because of that, these two arcs connecting these points on the circle are congruent. So I can say 7x plus 24 equals 115, and then I can solve. So I subtract, get 91, and then I divide and get 13. Okay. Notice I'm not really starting to show the steps anymore because y'all should recognize these. You're about to go into Algebra 2, hopefully, and you should know how to solve equations. You've got to be able to know how to do those things. We will have an algebra review later. I would hate to think that I sent y'all unprepared, you know? You know. Alright, so let's look at number three. Now, number three, kind of conversing. They tell us the arcs are congruent. So then that means I know these are congruent. And a lot of this trying to get you to that idea that those two are congruent. So 9x minus 34 equals 4x plus 1. Okay? So, variables to the left, numbers to the right. And you got 5x is equal to 35. So x is equal to 7. Okay, but again, notice what the question asks. Find xy. Find xy. So I need to put the 7 here and say 4 times 7 plus 1 to get that xy is equal to 29. Boom! Shaka-laka laka. Okay. So again, nothing too simple. Now, how does this get confusing? How can I make this confusing? I don't know. Let's see here. All right. So look, here they're like, oh, okay, well, they didn't put the 76 over here. They've got it here in the middle, and between the two chords. But we know that, hey, this is 6x minus 21. Guess what? So is this, because they're equal. And then if I go all the way around a circle, what does it add up to? It adds up to 360. You are correct. So I've basically got 6x minus 20. I'm going to write this completely out this way. 6x minus 20 plus 76. I like how I wrote 72, don't you? Okay, so again, this arc plus this is equal to how many degrees of a circle? 360. Combine all your like terms. 6 plus 6 is 12x. Negative 20 is negative 40 plus 6 is 36 equals 360. And then I can subtract, and that would give me 324. And then divide, and you should get 27. Boom. There you go. Fairly simple. Like I said, once you start seeing these examples or follow an example, it should be fairly easy. But again, unless you see it like if they're opposite each other like this, then those are going to be equal. Okay? Okay, so now technically all those first few examples were like ways of using the first property, property 1a, I guess you could think of it as. So it was really more using this property right here. Okay, what about the next property? Okay, so number 7 starts us off with the next property, which is that if they're equal distance from the center, notice there's those little congruency marks that I've kind of made hard to see, then these two are equal. So again, like if you're not sure, that's usually your default that you're okay to go with. 32x minus 27 is equal to 11x plus 15. Ooh, let's do it like that. Okay. Variables to the left, numbers to the right. That gives me 21x. This gives me plus 27, 42. So x is equal to 2. Now they want you to find dE, so you could put this back in and say 2 times 11. So dE is equal to 2 times 11, or 11 times 2, I guess I should say, plus 15, and you should get 37. So 37 is that final answer. All right. So again, nothing too difficult, but that was using more of the second property. Okay, so now let's look at one that can kind of give us a little bit of maybe the second and third property. All right, in circle Z, RS is 18. So from here to here is 18. TY is 42. So this is 42 degrees. Okay, so find each measure. All right. This is where this 90 degrees comes into handy. Okay, and seeing that these are equal distance. So if this is 18, if RS is 18, let's try that again. TU is also 18. Okay, those two chords will be equal. Now, keep in mind, because of the 90, these are cut in half. So, I'm going to erase here because it's getting kind of hard to see. So, like when I look at, if that means each one of these can be, this line here, the radii, cut these chords in half. So if TU is 18, then that's half. That's 9. Okay? That also means that if this is 18, this is half. That's 9. Okay. Now, at the same token, that means, again, 9, those are like equal, right? So that would suggest that the chords have to be equal. I'm sorry, not the chords, the arcs. So if TY is 42, whoops, let's try that again. If TY is 42, then YU will be 42 degrees also. Okay? And if that's 42 degrees, or that's 42, that would mean this all together is 84 degrees. Well, guess what? RS has to be congruent because, again, these chords are congruent. So that's 84 degrees. And there you go. All right. And again, do you get something like that, or do you get something simpler like on number 11 where he says, okay, find MN. Excuse me. Find this, but they tell you that MR is 2x plus 9, QM is 6x minus 11. So again, those two have to be equal. Okay, so here, I'll erase this for a second. This is equal to that. So solve from there, and you get x is equal to, let's see here, that's going to be 4x is equal to 20, so x is equal to 5. Now, if I put 5 in here, I'm going to get 19. That's this right here. That means this is 19 also, so MN would be 38. Okay, so just kind of keep in mind like how you're working those out and going from there. Okay, so now, again, how do we go back and see something like these next ones? All right, so this one's kind of go back to some of the old stuff that we've done before. Keep in mind, again, because of that 90 degrees right there, this and this are equal. So I got to somehow find that length, right? So let's find this length. And what shape do I see? I see a right triangle. So I could say here, let's make that, I don't want to use it. Let's just say a little a right here. So I'm going to say a squared plus 5 squared is equal to 13 squared. And again, I would get a squared is equal to, subtract these, and you get 144. Take the square root, and you got 12. Okay, so ZW is equal to 12. That means if this is 12, so is this. That's 12. So that means VW is 24. Okay, that one's easy. All right, I'm going to do 14 and 16 at the end. I'm just going to kind of do them off to the side here. Let me look at 15. All right, so 15, they tell you HK from here to here is 30. Okay, because of that 90 degrees, this is 30, you know, right here, that's 15. So is that. Okay, I'm kind of trying to get back to the triangles though, so kind of keep that in mind. PM is 8, so that's 8 also. So if I wanted to find pH, I want to find this one, that's 90 degrees right there. So that means this right here, what I've got is a 15 and 8, and I need to find this little bit right here. This represents pH. Okay, so I need to find this right here. And again, I'll use C this time because guess what? That's C squared. So I'm going to say here 8 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. All right, so you add those two together, type that into the calculator, you get 289 equals C squared. Then you would take the square root to get C is equal to 17, so pH is 17. There we go. Okay, and that's that. So that one uses the quadratic formula. You just got to be careful on how you would use it. I'm sorry, not quadratic formula, Pythagorean theorem. Now, 14 and 16. That one becomes interesting. You need to use, like you would have to use some type of, that one we come back to trigonometry. For those of you who plan on pre-calc, this is going to become important. So, all right, let's go back here. So what do we have here? We know that they want to find this measurement of YW. Okay, come back here for a second. They want this measurement. Now we know this is equal to that central angle. So I need this angle right here. Okay, I've got 5 and 13, and I've got, let's say, that's adjacent to that angle. The 5 is adjacent, that's the hypotenuse. So what I have, when I look at this angle, and I'll come back to, I'll make this a little bit larger here. I want y'all to remember this. Okay, here's 5, here's 13, there's the 90 degrees. I'm looking for this angle right here because that will also give me that arc because it extends out to that arc. Okay, so if that's the case, then what I need to do is, if I go back, this would be adjacent and hypotenuse, so that means I'm using cosine. And anytime I want to find an angle, I'm going to do cosine inverse, 5 over 13. If you do that, you would get that the measurement you get an angle, or the measurement of YW is going to be 67.4 degrees. Okay, so it's a matter of, can you set this up, and then after that it's easy. Alright, so look, GH, they want us to find GJ, what was I thinking? Okay, so that's this right here, right? So that means, well, this becomes a little bit interesting. Okay, so let's find one of those. Okay, I'm going to come back here, and let's find, let's say, from here to here. Because if I find that, I just need to double it, right? Okay, so again, you go back to this triangle, because if I go back to this angle right here, that will give me that angle right there. Okay, had 15 and 8. That was adjacent and opposite. So that means I'm using tangent. So tangent inverse, opposite over adjacent. Okay, you type that in, you're going to get that HJ, that measurement is about 61.9 degrees. And then if you double that, that will give you GJ, 123.9 degrees. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind. That should hopefully get you through those, and kind of go from there. All right. So, what would I like y'all to do? Alright, for my CP classes on pages 3 and 4, I would like you to do 1 through 10. For my pre-APs on pages 3 and 4, I'd like you to do all of them. If you have problems with the 14 and 16, that's okay. Don't worry too much about those. But, you know, try to do as many of these as you can. If y'all have questions, feel free to ask. Let me know, and we'll kind of go from there. Anyways, guys, I do hope everything's going well. Let me know if how I can be of help. Y'all take care. Have a great day.